And the track is I'm not crying. You're not crying, are you?
Okay. Well, despite that, I will give it a go.
Thanks.
Hey, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Audiophiles. Her name is Noelle. I have a dream about her. She rings my bell. I got gym class in half an hour. Oh, how she rolls. And kids and she socks. But she doesn't know who I am. And she doesn't give a damn about me. More on that later. But first, we're here to listen to a tune which Andy has taken from his mortuary slab, reinvigorated with life, and sped across the ether towards me. Andy, what have you got?
I have a band called Deer and the Headlights. Are you familiar with them at all?
Of course you have. No, I'm not.
Excellent. Okay.
It sounds like a really sort of naturalistic name for a band you're setting up. Yeah. What do we call ourselves, guys? Johnny and the Hot Rods? No. The Tambourines? No. Deer in the Headlights? It's a winner.
And deer in this instance isn't the hooved mammal. It is deer, DEAR. So Deer and the Headlights. And the track is I'm not crying. You're not crying, are you?
Okay. Well, despite that, I will give it a go.
Thanks for being
talk about contrived. I mean, Jesus.
It rolls right off the tongue. What are you talking about?
No, I'm not intrigued. But no, I am interested. I shall give it a listen.
Okay.
Did the seesaw nights put their hands on you? I can't really say. I can't really say. Are you swinging from the eaves in a tasteful noose? I can't really say. I can't really say.
It's a really nice beginning. I like the way the notes are struck and then it goes into the chord. Is that called arpeggio? Should have paid attention at school. I think it is. But they're playing the notes of the chord and then the chord goes in. There's some interesting lines there. I'm going to listen to it again, actually, so I get them. But Seesaw Nights and something about a tasteful noose as well, which is quite cool. And then the song kicks in proper. And then the first couple of lines, there was something else. Was it keyboards? Maybe the bass as well was following the vocal melody as well, which is quite nice. Yeah, I like that start. His voice is really familiar as well. I think guessing style rather than his voice, but it does sound like someone. That's on a postcard, please.
Did the seesaw nights put their hands on you? I can't really say. I can't really say. Are you swinging from the eaves in a tasteful noose? I can't really say. I can't really say. for me to mean a thing to you. I can't really say I can't. No, I can't say. They blather incessantly every Jossie last one, and then they clamor for attention, vomiting opinions. But all you want asking, you're not asking, are you? Ain't it hard when you discover that the only thing you ever loved is passing your hand, and anything that's got a pulse is doing just the same? You're the only reason that you came. So if you have to keep singing, if singing should be fun, and if it ain't what you had pictured, it, yeah, that's about right. So if you have to keep singing, if singing should be fun, and if it ain't what you had pictured, it, yeah, that sounds about right.
Damn, it felt like it was just getting warmed up. That's really short and sweet. A lot of interest in that song. Slowed it down a bit, the sort of pre-chorus, whatever you call it. There was like a stutter drum, there was stabbing guitars as well, loads of dynamics. I'd have to say, it's still bugging me who it reminds me of, but really strong vocal performance. Kind of swept me along with it. This is a really catchy sort of indie rock, indie pop, whatever you want to call it, song. I put this at late noughties, but I'm not 100% sure. I don't think it's early. Yeah, it's definitely post 2000. Late noise. Let's give it a go. Yeah, really interesting. To find out more about this band from Andy. Not sure about the name of the band. Could work. Yeah, let's go back to Andy and find out more.
All right. You've returned, and it looks like
Yeah.
you aren't in tears. What say you on Deer and the Headlights in this track?
Or am I? Yeah. Okay, so really nice start to this song. It starts with, now, forgive me if I'm using the wrong word here, but I want to say arpeggio, where you hit the notes of a chord and then the chord, yeah. So it starts with that, and it gives a sense, it's like a couple of lines he sings with that. It gives a sense of sort of rolling and momentum, you know, just continual perpetual motion almost. And the singer does about 4 lines, and then the guitar does chords over when he says, I can't really say. So it's picking and then chords. It's really nice, and it feels like you're sitting in pre-takeoff, you know, in a plane. The engines are going, but we're not moving yet. We're ready. And there's some interesting words in those first few lines. So I did pull it back and restart it so I could write them down, because it's rare for me to get all the words, but I did. And so the first few lines are, you know, did the seesaw knights put their hands on you? Can't really say. Are you swinging from the eaves in a tasteful noose? So I really like the word seesaw knights, because it gives that, there's a lot of in that, you know. And it's just really interesting. And tasteful noose is a very again, a really interesting and clever use of words there, that again brings in all sorts of ideas, whether they're intended or not. It you know, triggers things. But that's really cool. And then of course after that we do have Liftoff, and the guitar chords give it that indie rock sound that came in sort of, I'm talking from a British perspective here, although I don't think this is British, I think this is American, but that sort of sound came in post Britpop, and it's quite a nod back to sort of, there was a phase, particularly in this country, of that glam rock sound, and there is a sort of glam rock to the guitars, particularly in the first few bars. But this impression I get of it becomes fleeting, so you just forget about it after a while, you know. But it's there straight away, it hit me. And the drums, which are also, I feel, quite sort of glam rock as well, give it almost a joyful beat to it, which I find really infectious. So I'm on board at this point, really liking it. And when he sings, it's one of the few other words I got, something about you're following a flashlight down, something or other. I think it's the keyboard part in there, and it may be the bass as well, but it's sort of very mixed quite tight. But I think it's keyboard. It mimics the vocal melody. And again, this adds to like the playfulness, and the actual vocal melody is quite a playful little number as well. So his voice is reminiscent of someone, and I still can't think. It might be a bunch of people rather than one person, but it kind of time and a place thing. It puts me somewhere. Especially he sings one bit where he says, and he does it with other words as well. But the first time he did it when not laughing, he really sings going for it there, and it reminded me of someone so strongly, and I can't pinpoint who, but you know, it has a familiarity to it. And he really starts going for it, the vocalist. There's a classic sort of slowed pre-chorus where there's sort of, you know, and for me, that always signals a moment of like reflection, like just think about what I've said, because I'm really emphasizing it now before we go big. Too late, here we go. And then there's really bright guitar notes in that pre-chorus bit, which again is just lovely. And then comes a big chorus with those chord changes that sound mid-noughties indie. The first band that sprang to mind was Keen. It's not Keen, but it's of that ilk. Again, British perspective, I'm going to immediately think of American bands, but there are plenty of them. I guess you'd say something like Dandy's, Warhol's a bit does that. Those sort of chord changes, which again are really nice, you know, and they work for a reason. Or they are used for a reason because they work, and it's just a great sound. It's quite a short song, actually, so I didn't really stop it after this. I just let it ride out because I was enjoying it. The other side of the chorus, and I wrote down, this is not reliable in any way, but I did write down 1 minute 30-ish. They do this stutter beat with the drums and the keyboards and cymbal crashes, which is a really nice technique. And it almost started to become syncopated, but then they carried, and then it went just guitar. And then into the verse. And I thought it was a really clever way of transitioning, because at this point, the verse is as big as the chorus. So if you went straight in the chorus into the verse, there'll be no difference. And you don't then get the emphasis of the chorus. So for them to do that little technique, I thought was really interesting and clever to do that transition. The drums are still sounding fairly simple, but absolutely great, and I'm really, really enjoying it. And even more glam at this point, and not for the first time this week, the words of Gary Glitter Band spring to mind. But it's that dum, 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 you know, rock and roll, hey, you know. And then they do another sort of pre whatever chorus thing around 2 minutes 10, and then they do this guitar stabbing to the beat, which again is an often used method, but it never fails to delight me, and it does so in this instance as well. I really enjoyed it. And there's another big chorus, and then I'm feeling they're just getting warmed up, and it ends. I was a bit disappointed, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I wouldn't be upset if the song was a little bit longer.
Yeah, even though I pulled it back at the start to catch the lyrics, I then didn't really catch much apart from noting when techniques were used, so I had no idea what the song's about, not a clue. But it did have that overall feel of kind of this playfulness about them, and I don't know if it's some sort of in-joke or something, but that's kind of a feeling I got with no evidence. But I really enjoyed the tone of the guitars. The drums were, again, really fun, but it was the vocal delivery and exuberance that swept me along. And I think the vocal performance was the star of the show. He really went for it. And it's not the best voice or the most unique voice, but it won me over big time. I really enjoyed it. It was really enjoyable indie rock, and I would guess that's at the end of the reaction. I thought late noughties. It could. I don't think it was earlier than 2000 at all. Just the way it sounded, and everything, and what was going on. It sounds like, you know, sort of latter half of the noughties. But yeah, I did enjoy this a lot, actually. I thought it was really fun, playful. There's some interesting, in a short song, they sort of changed the landscape quite a few times, which I did enjoy it.
Yeah, I think I appreciate that too about the song, is that, like, yes, a part of me wants it to go on for another minute at least, right? But they do a really good job of like getting a lot into a song that doesn't even scratch the surface of 3 minutes.
Yeah.
So, hats off to them for their ability to do that. I'm really, really glad you liked it.
Yeah, tell us about the band, because I have no idea at all. I'm guessing American, mid-noughties, never heard of them. Can't say any more than
that. Yeah. Well, I will get into the band, and it'll give you probably a little bit of insight as to why maybe you aren't familiar with them. The Deer in the Headlights was an American indie rock band from Phoenix, Arizona, formed in 2005. Members include Ian Metzger, Robert Sissel, PJ Waxman, Patrick Taylor, Mark Kolvinskis, Joe Margward, and Chucky Duff. And in mid-July of 2011...
Chucky Duff's a great name.
Yeah, Chucky Duff is a great name. In mid-July of 2011, PJ announced that the band had broken up because they were going through a rough time with the music industry and felt that they got all that they had wanted through the band. He then said that the band had drifted from why they originally formed and why they began making music. And PJ also stated that they appreciate everything that they experienced, enjoyed doing what they were doing. But in 2016, in an interview, frontman Ian Metzger revealed the band had about 10 songs ready to go for a third album, but the band broke up during the process, and it was due to Waxman wanting to pursue solo projects and Metzger being burnt out from carrying the majority of the songwriting responsibility. This is their second album, and it was their final album that they put out. They only put out 2, and they put them out in 2007 and 2008. So quite quickly did they churn out these 2 albums, and it sounds like there is damn near a third one ready to be created as well. But yeah, everything kind of fell apart. And what's interesting, I think, about this song is it seems to be almost like an early indicator that things were not going well, at least from the perspective of the lead singer, particularly as it relates to the music industry and the touring process and all that stuff. So while the music is bright and fun and playful, it's almost like a depiction of what their situation should have been, while the lyrics go counterintuitive to that and kind of cut a little bit deeper against the whole fun, playful, we're out here touring nature of the sound. So I think it was very much an intentional, kind of
so that's what Seesaw Nights means.
Yes.
Good nights, bad nights. Yeah, gotcha. I thought that was interesting.
So yeah, it is interesting, and the name of this album is called Drunk Like Bible Times, and it is their second and final studio album. It was released on September 30th of 2008. AbsolutePunk.net gave it a 75%, and Sputnik Music gave it 4 out of 5 stars. A write-up on it says, Deer in the Headlights, who doesn't like a good pun, delivers their sophomore album, Drunk Like Bible Times, to the world of indie rock. Blending a variety of genres, rock, folk, some jazz, and even a little classical guitar, Deer in the Headlights separate themselves from the rest of indie rock groups. Then it goes on to say the album starts with "I'm not crying, you're not crying, are you?" showing the band's versatility. The song opens up with a folksy guitar line and equally folksy lyrics, but quickly descends into Killers-esque rock. Drunk Like Bible Times has something for everyone. Easy listening light rock in Flowers for My Brain, slightly heavier indie rock in Carl Solomon Blues, I Know and Talk About, with smart lyrics throughout. With so many different styles at play, it's actually amazing the Deer in the Headlights are so much like every other indie rock band, though. So Mixed reviews. I think it was liked, but they felt like it wasn't breaking any barriers in its release. So, to each their own. I happen to really, really enjoy this song, especially as like a bit of a peek behind the curtains as to how and we've talked about this with other bands that we've covered on here, how things can go so awry and unravel so quickly when you're a young touring band. The lyrics for the song are, did the Seesaw Knights put their hands on you? I can't really say. I can't really say. Are you swinging from the eaves in a tasteful noose? I can't really say. I can't really say. You're following a flashlight down utility halls, and then you mumble to yourself that this has all been your fault. And oh, you're not laughing. You're not laughing, are you? And now some local loser with a tape and a badge wants you to answer from the list of pointless questions to ask. And no, he's not sincere. You're not sincere, are you? Then the howls and moans pour from the black, and it's a sea of blank faces straight to the back, aggressively mediocre in every single way, yet you're the only reason that they came. So if you're excuse me, so if you have to keep singing, then singing should be fine. And if it ain't what you had pictured, yeah, that sounds about right. Does it matter much to me to mean a thing to you? I can't really say. I can't. No, I can't say. They blather incessantly, every drossy last one, and in their clamor for attention, vomiting opinions. But oh, you weren't asking. You're not asking, are you? Ain't it hard when you discover that the only thing you ever loved is passing your hat, and that anything that's got a pulse is doing just the same, and you're the only reason that you came. So if you have to keep singing, then singing should be fine. And if it ain't what you had pictured, then yeah, that's about right. Said it, if you have to keep singing, then singing should be fine. And if it ain't what you had pictured, then yeah, that sounds about right. So yeah, it sounds like the realities and the dirty underbelly of this lifestyle is become evident to this, I think, pretty smart frontman and singer who is like, nah, this ain't for me. I love the idea of creating art. I love the idea of expressing myself and putting myself out there and creating music. But if this is what it takes, or if this is part of the deal, perhaps you can count me out.
Yeah, I really liked. I mean, this is the second time I heard the lyrics, but I didn't really hear it the first time in the reaction. But I really like. I presume that the first bit that you read out, or sorry, the second bit was about a music journalist.
Yes.
But it's quite brutal. The bit after that about the the audience, the sea of blank faces and all that. It is like clearly he's done some shows that didn't go down as well as he hoped. And then I think the next bit after that is that the critics. He's talking about the vomiting opinions that he didn't ask for. Fair enough. He said something about passing the hat round, which is just like doing it for the sake of it, really. There's not many professional buskers that earn a living out of it. It's really, you do it for a bit of fun.
Yep.
That's what he loves, clearly, rather than being a marketing product, which is basically what a band becomes. Yeah, that was some great lyrics. I wish I'd heard them the first time.
They're
but really good.
Yeah,
really
and I'm surprised there wasn't more pushback, perhaps from the fan base or those who cover the the journalist. So because he's pissing off everybody here, or he's attempting to, or showing them how they've let him down. And I think it takes a set of balls to just come right out and say some of that stuff. But
and he doesn't mention the band members either, like it's just him.
No, yeah. It's just him that's affected by, right?
Yeah.
Which would probably go on to explain how maybe they weren't all on the same page and why they needed to disband if this was how he was experiencing it versus perhaps how some of them were experiencing it. But yeah, it's hard to get especially a band with this many people to all be on the same page and have the same shared experience is probably a tall order or a big ask,
Yeah, and if you're the front man of a band, you've got you've got to screw loose for a start, and you've got sort of ego problems anyway, you know.
Yeah.
To
Yeah.
be kind,
And you probably
you know?
also, in their defense, because though everything you said is right, but on the other side of the coin, they probably feel the expectations and everything about the band pointed in their direction as if they're the one that have to have all the explaining to do. So the out of proportion responsibility to be the one to speak to the record label, to be the one to represent the band at these like junctions with the journalists and everything, and to answer the questions of the fans and everything, is probably, you feel the onus is on you and not so much some of the other band members. So I can understand how that could burn you out, you know.
Yeah, you could look at a band that we covered. I mean, it's not quite the same number of people because it was just a trio, but you know, the Jam, Weller's singing, guitar, writes all the songs pretty much. Yeah. And so everyone really wants to hear what he wants to say rather than Bruce Foxton or Ricky, you know. And then when he tunnels off, they're left with nothing, you know, as well. But you can see how they could burn out because there's a lot of pressure on that, you know. I think there was a similar thing with Sting and the Police as well. I mean,
that would make sense. That would make sense.
He also became a rampant arsehole full of ego, but you know, I think that probably was a natural progression anyway. You know. But I quite there's a thing about this sort of indie bands, and I use a really broad umbrella term for indie. But you know, it's particularly in Britain in the 80s, there was lots of bands that did one album or maybe, if you're lucky, two, then split up, and absolutely nothing wrong with the albums. They're all decent, but they're very, very sort of temporary. You know, come in here, burn out bright, and then piss off.
Yeah.
And sometimes you really admire that, and other times you really jarred off. They didn't do, you know, 10 albums that you can sink your teeth into. It's when you discover a new band for the first time. You know, oh, this is brilliant. Wait, is this all they've done?
Yeah.
Yeah,
you get to the Wikipedia and you see the past tense of existence, like was, were, and you're like, oh shit. Scroll down to discography and you've only got 2 albums to select.
There isn't even a link. There isn't even a link to discography. It's just scroll down. That's a bad sign.
Yeah, exactly. But these guys really did get a lot of attention when they first started, and they were like, oh god, here comes the next great like indie band. But we've talked about it before, you know what I mean? Rock Kills Kid and other bands, this stuff happens. But it's sort of like a what could have been, because there's obviously, this guy's a pretty clever songwriter, and the song has so many catchy, like infectious elements to it, as does this album in general. I mean, it's a really good album in my opinion. So I wanted to shine a little light on it, and I thought, since we always go into talking about the band after the listen, why not pick a song that kind of introduces or is like foreshadowing as to what the fate would then be of the band. So yeah, I'm really glad you liked it though.
I'm sorry if you already said this, but did he go on to do anything else?
I think he went on, that some of them did. I think he went on to do some solo stuff, but I don't think it ever got as big as what this was, or obviously the potential of what this was going to be if they had continued down the road that they were going down. So
it's amazing how many seemingly really talented guys within a band who are the main songwriter and probably the lead singer and all that as well. And you feel they've got it in spades, and then they go off solo and it never happens. They actually do need that sort of framework around them. And you know, it's amazing. It's quite, you know, it's quite rare that someone was in a band, goes solo, and does really well.
Yeah, and it's also amazing what a bad experience will do for you, and kind of how that will play into what decisions you make moving forward. Because I would imagine that, like, if it was this shitty for him, and he was in a band of this many people, and he still felt all the responsibility for, you know, then if he went and did solo stuff, it would be only him, and everything would fall on his shoulders. And maybe the weight of other people's unsolicited expectations is enough of a bad taste in your mouth to be like, no, I'm all good here. I'm going to go into carpentry, or I'm going to go into real estate, or just get out of this. So who knows? But it's you can't really deny the talent because it's there, and this is a really, really fun song. So Yeah, man. Glad you gave it a listen. Glad I could bring it to the channel and share with everybody out there.
Yeah, enjoyed it.
Yeah, folks out there, let us know what you thought of Deer in the Headlights and this particular song, whose title is very, very long. But yeah, all that being said, let us know, like, if it reminded you of anything, if you're familiar with these guys or whatever. Like, share, and subscribe if you would be so inclined. We're trying to, generate some more subscribers and grow the channel, and we can't do that without you. So John and I would be very appreciative. All that out of the way, we hope to see y'all and then some on the next episode of The Audiophiles. See you later, guys.